other earbud in here. Cool. And of course we will hang out and do whatever, and always take stuff from the... If you see anything that you want to answer on the side, like while it's coming through, feel free to stop me and stuff. Let me make sure this is live. Yeah. There's like a 15... Cool, yeah, I think it's good now. Cool, so what is... Let me mute that. What is going on, everybody? That did not mute at all. There we go. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another stream, and today, after... over a month of hearing me mention Aaron on every single video that I've made, I believe, so far, I now have Aaron, which is the second time I think we've done an interview for my channel, but in this fashion, this live fashion and all that stuff, you are here. So welcome. Thank you for joining. Do you want to do a small little introduction or anything like that?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Aaron. I have another YouTube channel called Fingtam Languages. I talk mainly about learning languages. It's one of my passions. I also talk a lot about linguistics, which, you know, a lot of people confuse being a linguist with being a polyglot.
Right.
They're separate things, but they're both separate interests of mine. I majored in linguistics, so I have an undergrad in that, and so sometimes I do videos about what linguists do and how you can learn more about linguistics. So yeah, just doing my passions.
Yeah, man. And I'm always enjoy talking to you because like you're like my closest connection to Wisconsin. I almost went to.
Oh, yeah.
I almost went to. Well, I filled out an application to go to University of Wisconsin because they had at the time they had one of the best film programs in the nation, which blew my mind. But so I almost went there, and then I started following their college sports. Like Wisconsin, I'm like a huge Wisconsin dude. Like the Milwaukee Bucks are my basketball team, and I pull for the Badgers and stuff. But anyway,
she's great. So
yeah, but yeah, thank you for joining. I have a couple of things specifically I want to talk to you about. And it's gonna, you know, I know that I've spoken a lot about Esperanto in the last couple of episodes, but seeing as how I found Aaron through Esperanto, I want to cover that. I want to cover some Toki Pona and also some of the books and stuff that you are doing and you know and all that stuff. So if you want to start, let's start with some of the books. Is this the guy who does the all-day language learning live streams? This is Aaron. Yes. He does the 12+ hour live streams. So you just recently, I know that you were sending it to a couple of people. I saw where somebody had finally done a review, but you have a book that you wrote for the purpose of, well, it's not like a language learning book, but it's like a book easy for language learners, like a beginner. Yeah, there's like a couple of stages,
but reader or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, I've read the first 2 parts. And but if you want to talk a little bit about that, we can talk about the book, kind of how it came to be, what made you decide to write it, and stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah. So this book came out of my own need, actually, because I was learning Thai, and Thai is a very hard language to learn.
It seems like it would be, yeah.
At least in my experience, the alphabet is just murderously difficult to learn. It's like this has got to be the most difficult alphabet on the face of the planet.
Right.
Anyways, I was struggling learning Thai, and I like to include lots of comprehensible input in my language learning routine. You know, like I like Duolingo, and I do drills. I just recently talked to Steve Kaufman on my channel, you know, and he says, I never do drills. I hate drills. I do them sometimes. I think they can be helpful. I like studying grammar and stuff, but really what I want to get into when I'm learning a language is comprehensible input. Meaning reading or listening to things that I can mostly understand.
Right.
And you want to be reading things that are a little bit above your level so that you're actually pushing yourself and learning something, but not too far above your level to where you're completely lost.
Right.
It has to be comprehensible. Right. So what I was doing, because I was a beginner in Thai, is I would go out and I would find Thai children's books.
Hmm.
Um, Very simple, like basically just picture books, um, like maybe a fourth grade level or something, because that's just the level I was at, that I was able to read children's books.
Right.
Obviously, children's books aren't the most interesting thing to read,
Right.
and they're not designed for people who are learning the language as a second language.
Right.
Children's books are designed for people who are already fluent speakers of the language.
Right.
But that was the best thing that I had. And so I developed this system where I would find a children's book, a very simple one that looked like I could easily read it over the course of 10 minutes or so. And I would go on Reddit or somewhere, and I would get someone to, I would like take pictures of every page, and then I would send it to someone on Reddit. I would just go to the Reddit subreddit of whatever language I was learning Thai. And then I would get someone to read it, like send me an MP3 of the recording.
Right.
And then I would listen to it as I was reading, and I would like slow it down in Audacity so I could really hear like all the tones and all of the little nuances in their words.
Right.
And I would also like edit it in Audacity so that I would put spaces in between each line, so that way I could listen to it and then repeat after them, and then sometimes I would edit it so that one line would repeat multiple times.
Yeah.
And get a bunch of repetition. And that was fine. Like that was, like I said, that was about the best thing I could do, I think, as far as getting comprehensible input.
Right.
But it just felt like I was missing some opportunities there, because I couldn't find anything that was designed for people who are learning Thai as a second language.
Right.
Obviously, I was in Thailand,
Right.
and all of the books for learning language there were for Thai people trying to learn English.
Right. I've always thought.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say I've always thought Thai is in that weird spot, and I always group Thai with Vietnamese, where it's like they're almost like I know people obviously know Thailand because of like the idea of the red light district and all that stuff. Like I get that, but like in terms of language learning, Asia is ruled by Japanese, Chinese, Korean, and I feel like some of those other languages, it's not quite the trickle down effect where it's as needy, because it's like if I'm learning an Asian language, it's going to be Japanese, Chinese, or Korean.
Yep. Absolutely, yeah. Almost no it's extremely rare to find an American who just says, I'm learning Thai, unless they're going to Thailand or they married a Thai person or something like that.
Right.
Right. You might want to learn Japanese just because you're into anime, or just because you like Japanese culture, or you might want to learn Chinese because it's good for business or something like that.
Right.
No one's learning Thai.
Right. Right.
It's a very specific reason to learn Thai. And so my resources were very limited. And so that's really why I created this, because it was something that I personally wanted and something that I had been using and creating for myself. And then I just realized, like, hey, there's a market for this. Like, people need this, and it's really useful. It's really beneficial to me. So I essentially just took that same process that I used for creating my own language learning resources in Thai, and I just wrote my own short story, and released it in multiple languages. So that's in Spanish, French, Thai, English, and Toki Pona.
Yeah. Oh, see, what I enjoy about your book is too, like, or because I've read the beginner and intermediate thing in Spanish, but it's a lower level, and it has that kind of kid element to it in terms of the way it is, but from where it's designed to kind of have that language learning aspect too, it has the circling, the questions, and it has that constant repeated vocabulary to where it just kind of gets stuck in your head. So it's a really, I really like the concept of it.
Yeah. So it's not just a children's book that's designed to entertain. It's designed to teach you vocabulary and grammatical constructions. So there's certain grammatical structures in the sentences of the story that keep coming up over and over, so that you keep coming back to them.
Right.
And you get a lot of repetition of those things. And then at the end of the section, the first section, there's a question and answer section about what happened in the story. And it's not designed to like check your understanding of the story. The questions are designed to give you more exposure to the language.
Right.
How do you form questions in the language? How do you answer questions in the language?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, man. I think it's a really good idea. Did you get I need to look, like I read that, but I haven't looked into like your publishing and stuff. Did you contract like did you reach out to a publisher, or how did you get in regards to, or you just
self-publishing? Yeah, I'm doing all of my marketing myself on YouTube and on Twitter and stuff. It's all through Kindle, Kindle Direct Publishing.
Okay, gotcha. And those are the Kindle versions and stuff. Those are on Amazon. Like people could buy them now.
Yeah, Kindle versions are live. That's on Amazon. For all of the versions except for Toki Pona. The Toki Pona version is actually just free. I just made it because I like Toki Pona.
Right.
And I got volunteers who were able to translate it for free. So I'm like, I'm just going to give this as a gift to the Toki Pona community.
Yeah.
So the free PDF is circulating around. If people are interested in that, they can find it on my channel.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the ebooks. I actually haven't announced this anywhere else yet, so this is going to be the first first place anyone will hear this. But I just today I uploaded the final manuscript to Amazon for the paperback version of my book, and so that's going through the. It's a very quick process of review that they have there, and then within the next 2 days or so, the paperback copy will be available as well.
Nice.
But yeah, and the Toki Pona version of that is for sale, but I set it to the minimum that Amazon allows, because obviously they have printing costs and stuff like that.
Nice. Have you thought about, because I know, and I do, Toki Pona is one of the things I do want to talk about, but have you thought about doing an Esperanto version?
I've been wanting to do that. The problem with Esperanto that I ran into is that if I get someone to do an Esperanto version of this book, I want it to be a really high quality translation. And for Spanish and French, well, I could have translated those myself, but I wanted to pay a professional translator to do it. There's just a lot less professional Esperanto translators. And the ones that I was able to find were just out of my price range, because I honestly don't know if I'll ever make back the money that I put into this book's case.
Right.
But so I wasn't able to get that yet. The other possibility was finding someone to translate it for free, like I did with the Toki Pona version, but I don't want to be putting out bad translations. Like, I really want someone that really knows what they're doing. You know, not just like hiring my buddy to, just do it on the side.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've talked recently with. I had Kyle Bailey on here, who I met through Esperanto, and he ended up living, like, we found each other on an Esperanto group, and he ended up living like 45 minutes away, but there is some negativity in the Esperanto community. So if you would release like even a slightly bad translation, that could be just absolute death day because the Esperanto community can be, like, honestly, in my opinion, way too judgmental about some stuff.
Yeah.
But
well, right. And then with Toki Pona, it's just like everyone's celebrating. Hey, we have a book now.
Right.
That's an exaggeration, but they were really appreciative of a free book written in Toki Pona.
Yeah. So I do want to that's cool, and I will actually I'll try to remember to update this. I do have your channel linked in the description, but I'm going to try to remember for people who watch this after the fact to go back and put links to like the Amazon store where you guys can find the books down below. Because I mean, it is good because like I know a lot of people have this idea of I want to read children's books, and that's perfectly fine. But like this is tailored to be a lower level, but it's designed for the idea of that constant repetition and stuff like that.
Right. And it's also multiple levels. So there's a beginner level that is like a children's book. It's basically just a storybook with pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lower intermediate level that's the same story, but a little bit more complex. And then there's an upper intermediate level that's like, you might struggle with it unless you're at a B1 or B2 level.
Right.
But it's designed to, it's the same story. So it's designed to be familiar enough that you can read through and understand most of what's going on.
Gotcha.
That's the thing I like about it.
Let's see. By the way, you might want to check with Alexo from Canolo Exploring Esperanto. He had some financial difficulties, and Tommaso is donating proceeds from his lessons on Saturday to him, meaning Alex might be able to translate. I know Alex has published a couple of books. I've
actually contacted Alexo and Tommaso because I'm friends with both of them on Facebook. We just weren't able to work it out yet, but who knows? In the future, we'll see how this one goes. In the future, I really want to have an Esperanto version. Honestly, that out of all the versions that I could release, I think the Esperanto one is the one that I would be most passionate about releasing.
Right. Yeah,
it just hasn't been able to happen yet, but I am going to push forward and try to get that.
Yeah, hopefully so, man. I mean, I would check that out in that. I've definitely stalled in my Esperanto, which I've mentioned in the past, but I got out of it in large part due to just a couple, and I shouldn't let a couple of bad seeds ruin me, but there's just a couple of, I don't even know if figurehead is the right word for it. There's just a couple of people that just rub me the wrong way with a couple of things.
Yeah.
So yeah. I kind of got out of it just because I didn't care for the negativity and exactly what I was saying about like the translations, right? Like, it'd be like, oh, I found this, and they're like, that's garbage, it's not translated right. And I'm like, well, it's content, dude, and it's not a. Right. I mean, like, and I know this is offensive to many Esperantists, but it's not a real language, so chill out. Like, let me read and enjoy my content.
I honestly, I had a similar kind of. I guess I shouldn't say similar. I have a different experience from yours, but I first learned about Esperanto and I started learning it like right when the Duolingo course was released, and I was like just super excited about it for like several months, and I was like learning Esperanto nonstop, and I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah.
I've only been learning Esperanto for a week, and I can already have whole conversations with people on these online chat rooms. I was like, it's the coolest thing.
Right.
And then I even started my Esperanto channel.
Right.
And I was releasing videos, and I was like, this is so fun. Then after a while, it kind of started to die down. I was like, yeah, I can go on a vacation to Mexico or to Montreal or France and like speak with people in their native languages if I'm learning French and Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm never going to go to Esperanto land. And I want to learn these other languages that are really useful. And so Esperanto was kind of on the back burner for a long time. And then I went to NASC, Nordamerico Somera Cursado, I think, North American Summer Classes. And it's essentially like summer camp, basically, for adults. It's like Esperanto summer camp is really what it is, / summer school. And it was just the best experience. Like, it was so much fun. And people there were so inviting and just so friendly, and the teachers were really helpful, and like everyone was accepting no matter what level you were. And like a lot of people could barely speak any Esperanto, but you just include them and you have fun anyways. And you're living together and you just do so much fun stuff together that it doesn't even matter if you can't fully articulate everything that you want to say, because you're playing games and you're just living together, and you really just live all day in Esperanto.
Yep.
And I mean, I would say my Esperanto wasn't great when I first got there. I mean, it's still not great, but like maybe I was at a B1 level. But I stayed in Esperanto all day, and like it was just so much fun and so comfortable and relaxed and so inviting. I didn't even feel like it wasn't stressful. I
Yeah.
wasn't nervous about messing up. I was just having fun speaking Esperanto and living in Esperanto. And by the time I left NASC after 9 days, I think I was at like a B2 already,
Right.
because it's
Yeah,
just such
man.
an easy language to learn.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, which and Kyle that had on here, that's what he was talking about. Like, he was decent, and then that first kind of that immersion of just
Hmm.
using it 24/7 is where he got to the point to where he would consider himself like fluent, quote unquote.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and I agree with that. But I agree too. Like, it's the reason it's easy to learn. Like at the end of it, I have a video on my channel called "The Easiest Language in the World." Like, it's still learning a language. Like, I do think some people
it
do
is.
jump into it thinking maybe it's going to be easier than it is. But the thing that makes it easy is once you learn the concept of something, you immediately know multiple words based on the affixes that you can attach to that word.
Yeah.
So you don't have as many words, and I used this example in a podcast the other day. But, like, for example, if you knew the word for warm, which is varma, well, and you already know the kind of the negating or opposite marker of mal, well, you can, okay, so opposite hot. Okay, that's cool. Like, so you learn how to create words, which
Hmm.
makes it just so much faster to learn.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it cuts down vocabulary. Like you have to learn like I don't know, probably less than half of the vocabulary
Yeah.
words of any other language,
Absolutely.
because you just always know the opposite, and you know like the verb is going to be the same as the noun.
Yep.
You just use the ending at the end. You know.
Yep.
Uh,
Absolutely. Do you think that do you think that your experience with Esperanto led you to want to try Toki Pona, just being another constructed language?
yeah. Yeah. Probably. Uh, I feel like just being who I am and having the interests that I have.
Hmm.
Even if I hadn't started learning Esperanto, or even if Esperanto wasn't a thing, I probably still would have tried learning Toki Pona just because it's so interesting. A
Yeah.
language with only 120 words. How do
Yeah.
you communicate in that? What do you do? And I'm interested in linguistics, so naturally, it's like there's a lot of pragmatics that you have to figure out when you're using a language that you just can't explicitly say a lot of what you
Right.
need, what you might want to communicate. So it's just very interesting from a linguistic point of view.
Yeah. I
Uh,
know. I get. I know that, like, the way that some words are made, and this is probably not accurate, but, like, there may not be a word for banana, so you would have to figure out, like, oh, okay, well, tree fruit stick or something like that, like, where you would
yeah.
mesh those words together.
Generally speaking, you would just say fruit if you have to talk about a banana,
Interesting.
unless you're trying to talk about like, no, I don't want the apple, I want the banana. Then you would say something along the lines of, not the red fruit, I want the yellow fruit.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
Um,
Because context would still tell you, like,
right.
in terms of gotcha.
Yeah. But generally speaking, you don't actually need to say what kind of fruit it is. And that's the whole concept of Toki Pona, though, like being able to simplify your thoughts down and not needing to have a word for everything.
Yeah. Do you is there a big is the community? I know it's probably not as big as Esperanto, because Esperanto is the largest conlang out there. But is I mean, is there a pretty decent community in terms of,
Yeah.
like, speakers and people wanting to speak to you and stuff? Did you have it? Did you have as an easy? Good God, English. Did you have as easy as a time? Good God. Like, finding speakers versus like when you were in Esperanto.
Yeah. I would say it's probably as easy. Now, there for sure are more Esperanto speakers than Toki Pona speakers, but it's not at all a challenge to find people. Like, um, when I was looking for a translator and a narrator for my Toki Pona book,
Yeah.
I literally just went on Twitter and I said, "Hey, who's a good person to do this?" And I got a bunch of people replying like, "Oh, this person can translate. This person can do voiceovers." And yeah, it was right away. I got that, and I was already following a bunch of Toki Pona people.
Yeah. What's
It's
the
not hard. There is an active community.
what's the act? Because everybody says the accent of Esperanto is actually. I think most people speak it with like a Spanish accent, but like it's supposed to have like an Italian accent. What's the accent of Toki Pona?
It's hard to say. I well, I don't want to talk too much about it because I myself am not an expert Toki Pona speaker.
Sure.
I've been more of a dabbler.
Sure.
It's weird though. It's kind of bizarre. The accent is on the first syllable of every word, which that's the only language I know of that does that. In fact, if you want, I can play a snippet of my Toki Pona book.
Yeah.
Here.
Go ahead. I'd be interested to hear how it sounds because like I've known of Toki Pona for a long time. Well, within the last couple of years, but like in the grand scheme of things, I've known about it for a long time, but I've never. I had one thing set up one time where I was gonna spend 2 weeks learning all the words and just seeing what could happen, and then I never did it.
Yeah,
but
that's what I did the first time, and it was just so fun. Really interesting, and some of the words that she chose, Sonia Yan Sonia. Some of the words, she's the one that invented the language, and some of the words that she chose to include in the language, you're like, huh, like you don't have a word for car, but you have a word for animal noise.
Right. Yeah, because you would think vehicle would be a very pivotal word because you could attach that to so many things.
Right, and there's like a word for bird, and a word for reptile, and a word for mammal, and a word for bug. And you're like, you have all these types of animals, like you know. But so it's interesting, and I don't know, maybe a little bit arbitrary, but I mean, it's cool.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah. It's a really cool concept. The lack of vocabulary, but being able to have. I mean, I say full-blown conversations, but like minimal full-blown conversations is still pretty interesting to me.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna play this on my I'm gonna play a snippet of this language from my book.
Cool.
So
yeah.
let me know if you can hear it or not because I'm playing it through my computer speakers. Hopefully, it also.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Tempo pini wan la akasi seli lili semi lilon. Sui sike lupa li pona mute tawa akasi semi.
Yeah, so I don't know how much you want me to play, but
that, you know what that sounds like to me?
What's that?
It sounds like Hawaiian.
Yeah, actually, the phonotactics of Toki Pona are interesting because every syllable in the language starts with a consonant and ends with a vowel. So it always goes consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel. You don't get like consonant clusters.
Yeah.
Except for I believe words can end with the letter N.
So
but that actually has that. I think that it is the same phonotactics as the Hawaiian language.
Yeah, because the Hawaiian language is that very like like it's just that very smooth. That's interesting. That's what it reminded me of for sure. And then if you're talking about like the consonant vowel and then the N, I mean that's Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I think a lot of Polynesian languages and like Japanese, I know is one like that. It's common. She didn't just invent she didn't just make arbitrary rules about the phonotactics. Like it's represented by a lot of things.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to because you're the only person that I know of right off where I could even talk about Toki Pona because you had spent. That's why I wanted to talk about it a little bit. If anybody, I know Caleb was excited about the Toki. Caleb, if you have any further, or anybody listening, if you have any further questions, let me know. Which Aaron's got the chat up too, so you can see him. But I do want to talk just a little bit about your time in Thailand and going there. So you got you were teaching English, correct?
Yes.
Did you apply for anywhere else, or like I'm curious? Well, I personally, just talking to you in a personal standpoint, I think I know part of why you were drawn to Thailand in terms of, or maybe a little bit of a reason that you would have went there, just maybe like family and stuff like that. But like, what was your draw to Thailand? Why did you apply there? Like, was there anywhere else that you would maybe rather have ended up, or like, how did that all come about?
Yeah. So it came about because I was coming to the end of my undergrad degree, and I graduated from that. And as I was like coming in my last year of school, my whole plan all along was to continue going to grad school and then eventually get a PhD.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, it had been 4 years of college, and like, I was just like, I want a little bit of a break from college. I just want to like have a job and work, and I want to like be able to focus on, like, I don't want to go home from school every day and then have to do homework all day and like always be stressed. I was like, I just want a job that I can work, clock in, clock out, and then evenings are mine, and I can do stuff for the channel. I can do stuff for my, my books or whatever. I had been writing a different book series at that time. And like, I can do things that I enjoy, and I want to travel, and I can go see different parts of Asia. And so my first thought was that that I would go to China, because I've wanted to learn Mandarin Chinese for, gosh, like 5 years. That's been one of the top languages on my list, and I've just never made it a priority. It's just never been the time to start learning Mandarin.
Right.
And so that's what I wanted to. I kind of started looking into jobs there, but I have a sister who lived in Thailand, and she was teaching in Thailand, and I was just, she was posting Facebook photos and Instagram stuff all the time of like, we went to the Philippines for the weekend, we went to Cambodia this weekend, we went to Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, and just like, and traveling around Thailand. We went to Chiang Mai, we went to Phuket, and she was posting pictures, and she worked at this school that was mostly Americans and Canadians. And then I was just like, you know what, as much as I want to go to China, that seems like an awesome job. And so I went there, and that was kind of the draw for that school.
Okay.
And
gotcha. Yeah. I did, one more Toki Pona question came in. We'll get to that, and then we'll get back to Thailand. But Caleb says, I got to know what kind of. Nope, that is not the question. What am I reading? Something? I thought somebody. Oh yeah, no, it's the one above that. Okay, yes, I'd love to know how to best go about learning Toki Pona, as well as where I can find Toki Pona community to interact with.
Yeah. Good question. There's a website called Okamasona e Toki Pona. Let me see here. I actually don't have your live stream pulled up right now, so let me pull it up. Okay, I will comment in the comment section here the name of that, because I realize it's a long word. I can't. Let's see. How do I pull up your comment section?
Oh yeah, I hate the way that like some of the YouTube stuff has changed.
Yeah, normally it's along the side. Called Okamasona. Okay, here we go. It's called Okamasona e Toki Pona. All right. Just do a Google search for that, and it'll come up. I guess I could find the link and share it, but if you just Google search that, it'll be you'll find it.
Cool.
And it's like a online course with like, I don't know, 12 or 20 lessons or something. I would when I first started learning, I would do one lesson a day, and by the time you finish the 12 or 15 lessons, you know all of the words in the entire language.
Yeah.
Let's see. There was also a YouTube series by the Conlang Credit. Let me look this up. It was a very similar concept. It was like very short videos. That like maybe 2 or 3 minute long videos, and there's like 10
State
of them.
Farm has announced.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good.
And then, all right, I'm gonna copy and paste this too. There's like 10 or 12 like 2 minute videos, and by the time you go through all of them, you know all the words in the language and all of the grammar that you need to know.
Yeah.
So it's just really insane.
Yeah.
So those are good resources for learning the language. And Twitter, I have found to be the best resource, the best community. There's also Facebook pages that I haven't really participated in a whole lot, and there's a subreddit for Toki Pona if you want to find other Toki Pona speakers to like exchange information with.
Yeah, I feel like Twitter probably would be the best because that's like instant. You post it out there, people start commenting.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who tweet only in Toki Pona. Like that's what their account is for speaking Toki Pona.
That's crazy, man. It's crazy that like a constructed language can get that big. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. Oh, and also there's a few YouTube channels that are all Toki Pona. Like there's a few like amateur home videos, like movie type.
Yeah.
Made in it. As well as the guy that did the narration for my book, he does like a weekly Toki Pona news.
Wow.
Like just what's in the news.
Yeah.
So Toki Pona.
Nice. I originally wanted to do that for part of my reason I wanted to get better in Esperanto is I wanted to start like a kind of like an all-inclusive media outlet talking about what's going on, sports. Like I wanted to do like an Esperanto hub for that. That didn't pan out. So, but Caleb also says, "What kind of linguistics did you study? Theoretical or applied? I got to know if he read articles about Bill Van Patten because I actually studied and published with Van Patten."
I majored in applied linguistics at my university, but the requirements for applied linguistics and what they called general linguistics was very similar, so we had a lot of overlap there.
Gotcha.
It wasn't like a whole different major. It was like the same department with slightly different focuses.
Gotcha.
I don't know who Bill Van Meyer is.
Yeah. Language Come Up says, other than the Thai writing system, how was learning the language as a whole? What made it easy or difficult, and how does it compare to other Asian languages?
Yeah, the alphabet was murderously difficult.
Yeah.
The alphabet is so bad. Like they need to scrap that system. Like go with Korean alphabet or something.
Yeah.
So aside from the alphabet, the most difficult thing for me about learning Thai is that I worked with mostly Americans.
Right.
So I would go to work, speak English all day. I spoke English to my students because I was an English teacher. I would order my dinner in Thai, and then I would hang out with my English-speaking coworkers after work in Thailand. So it's like, I did have Thai friends, and I would try to speak Thai to them as much as possible. But that was the hard thing for me, was being in Thailand, immersed in an English-speaking environment. That was sad.
I've always, I know people, act like English speakers are, well, you got it good, everybody learns your language, blah, blah, blah. But, like, the problem is, and the reason that, almost like the reason that we're trained to be monolingual, and I've seen cases of this all the time. I always talk about a thing where Euro-linguist Shannon Kennedy was learning, I think it was Hungarian, and like, because she works for Drops, wherever they're based out of, either Turkey or Hungary, whatever language it was, she was learning it. And she got in a cab, and like every time she would speak in Hungarian, they would kind of just like haha and almost like appease her, but then immediately be like, we're speaking English. So part of the thing that struggles, like, people are so wanting to speak to native English speakers so they can practice. It's harder for people that speak English to practice sometimes, because people are going to default and be like, well, we're going to speak English. I need that practice.
That's a very real. That's a real that's an issue. I've had that a lot, and like, you don't blame them for wanting to speak English, because that's what I want to do with their language too.
Right.
It's funny you bring up Shannon Kennedy learning Hungarian. Actually, I met her a couple years ago in Montreal, and I don't remember exactly what the conversation was. We were talking about my YouTube channel though, and I taught her I don't know, maybe this was her first word in Hungarian. Actually, I'm not even sure if you know this or not.
Fingtam? Yeah.
Yeah, Fingtam. Fingtam is Hungarian.
Yep.
It means I farted, and there's a long story that leads up to it. But yeah, it was really funny because she asked me, "Oh, Fingtam, what does that mean?" And I was like, "It's Hungarian for I farted." And she goes, "Oh, is Hungarian like your main language?" And I was like, "Nope, I know one word in Hungarian, and it's Fingtam."
Yeah.
The name of my channel.
Yeah, I guess. What is your subscriber count? Like 13,000. I guess there's 13,000 people that know at least one Hungarian word.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I remember. I think that was one of the I think the first time that we spoke on video, because we spoke before in Facebook. Because I had messaged you. I had found your channel, your Fingtam Adventures channel.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because I was in my Esperanto phase, and I remember your video was like, "Hey, I told you guys that I've been studying this language, and I'm at this random tavern, and they're having a meetup." And because I remember it, I think I've told you this multiple times, but for anybody new, you had a video where you were like running with the bulls or something, and I remember you didn't upload for like weeks, and I was like, "I guess this guy's dead." Like,
I remember that. That was on my road trip.
Yeah, but like I think that was one of the first questions that I asked, like the first time that we spoke, because I did a podcast, like where it wasn't like a live environment like this where we just do it, and I would acting all weird. Is it acting weird on the stream? Let me see. No, it looks like it's still working here. Shannon Kennedy hung like it's just kind of out of nowhere. Which I think Lindy was learning it because she was talking to somebody from there. But yeah, man, it's just a random language that I've just heard of like several like polyglots and stuff. Be like, I'm learning Hungarian.
Russian.
Yeah.
You know, which are all like not super closely related, but Hungarian is like way out in left field. It's totally different. They have like 19 cases and it's just not at all related to any of these other things. So it's like it's cool from a diversity perspective if you're interested in seeing what other how language. Mm-hmm.
There we go. OBS reconnected. Hopefully my live stream. I'm gonna reset my live stream just because sometimes it'll freeze the chat up. Like I guess from where everybody's staying home and whatever, and more people are just on it because like the way Comcast is, like you don't have a dedicated amount that you get. It's kind of split between the area in which it is.
Oh, gotcha.
Which is incredibly stupid, but there we go. Hopefully, I just switched it to. I have two, like I don't know much about. I'm not a technology guy. I have a 2.4, I guess, something, and a 5.0. The 5.0 is faster, but it tends to kind of freeze up from time to time.
Okay.
But anyway, so okay, I think we're good now. Everybody looking... Yeah, the live stream looks like it's doing okay now. Sorry about that. I've had a lot of random technical difficulties lately. I'm going to actually leave this like this. That way I can see and make sure it's still going. Okay, yeah, so you're talking about... like it's kind of a cool language to learn, like, and it's Indo-European, and like you said, all those polyglots are like, I speak all these languages that are... not the same, but like, because that's like, I've always thought of like German, for example. Like I've always thought if I learn German, that's my bridge to Slavic languages. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like they are still kind of similar, versus if you're like, all right, I'm learning English and then Vietnamese and then like, you know, I don't know, Bengali or something like that, like, you know, like something like that where it's just absolutely vastly different. So I know that you speak French and Spanish to a very, very high degree. You have a degree in Spanish, right? Are you...
I have a degree in linguistics, but I minored in French and Spanish.
Gotcha, okay. I thought I minored in Spanish. Gotcha. I knew that you had taken it in college because I remember you talking about doing like papers and stuff for it.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I thought I might double major in linguistics and Spanish, and then one summer I started learning French, and I thought, you know, just for fun, I'm gonna go in and take the French placement test at my school. See where I test. You know, it's a free test.
Sure.
I'll see where I place. And then I took the test, and I placed out of all of the classes that you need to learn French, and I placed right into the class where it's like start reading French literature. And then my guidance counselor saw that, and she's like, you know, since you placed out of all those classes, you can just take like 3 or 4 French classes, and then you get a minor in that too. And I was like, sweet.
Yeah, that's
It was funny. I was just taking that test just for the fun of it.
Yeah. When you started learning Spanish and French, what were your? I know that you're really big into, or not really big into. That's putting words in your mouth, but I've seen you talk a lot about learning languages via music. But what when you started learning Spanish and French, like what, or you know, you can pick a language. You don't have to say both, but like, what is kind of your method for going about it? Like, how do you get into it, and then what do you do to kind of advance? Like what is your study method, kind of?
Yeah, I've cycled through methods.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at first, when I first started learning languages, well, okay, if we're talking about when I first started learning languages, my method was to go to class, do the homework, take the test, and forget all of my Spanish by next semester.
Right.
That's when I was in middle school and high school. That's what I did. And I learned some that way, and it's nice learning how to conjugate verbs and how to know when you're supposed to use the subjunctive mood or ser versus estar.
Right.
But, you know, that's not how we learn languages. So I moved to El Salvador after I got out of the Marine Corps. And right before I left, so another one of my friends who was fluent in Spanish had lived overseas. She gave me maybe the best advice I've ever heard when learning languages. Mm-hmm. She said, all right, when you're in El Salvador, if you want to learn Spanish, you can't be afraid of looking like a fool.
Right.
You can't be afraid of making mistakes, because if you are, you're not going to talk, and then you're not going to practice, and then you're not going to learn Spanish.
Right.
But if you're willing to look like a fool and not worry about messing up, you will learn. And that's the philosophy that I've been preaching ever since.
Yeah. Mistakes are so important, man. I think, and I talk about this all the time, but like, the idea of mistakes and how some of these language applications and stuff punish you for mistakes, I don't think is good, because sometimes that mistake creates a stronger memory. And so like by that mistake, you've learned the word because of that.
Yeah.
So I don't like that it's, I don't know, man. I don't like the way that it happens sometimes. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing.
And you can learn from your mistakes. You can, if you mess up and someone corrects you, that can be a positive thing that sticks in your mind and helps you remember the correct way next time. But by and large, I think the most important thing to do is just ignore your mistakes. Just don't think about them. Yeah. Don't worry about them. Don't fear them. Just speak. Just start practicing. Just talk.
Right.
And let the words come out. Like, you know they're going to be wrong.
Yeah.
Like, you know your mistakes are going to be there. You just don't worry about it. You just don't think about them. You just communicate the best you can. And people understand that you're learning their language. They're not going to be mad.
Right.
They're not going to denounce you for defiling their language.
No.
At least most people won't.
Yeah. And English speakers may.
You're going to make, but you say it anyways.
Yeah.
What was that?
I said English speakers may.
Yes, yeah, some people may.
Well, because the thing I remember is what really stuck to me about the transitive and intransitive verbs in Esperanto came from a mistake. And I had made a video one time speaking in Esperanto, and I had said, "Finfine mi edzina komenciĝas Esperanton," and so Yeah, so from where I use komencijus, see, because you're only supposed to use that for, like, for example, like somebody would be like, oh, she started, and I could say she komencijus, because then that, like, and so I used it incorrectly, but from that mistake, I then understood more so how transitive and intransitive worked.
Yeah, and on my channel, on my not my normal channel, my Esperanto channel, which I just do for fun, really. Every single episode, I make lots of mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I would say my Esperanto is like a B something, and so I make lots of mistakes, and people regularly comment and leave me corrections, which I ask for. I say, if I make a mistake or if I can't think of the correct word, please let me know in the comments.
Yeah.
Tell me what I'm saying wrong. And they do, and I'm grateful for that. But the problem is, the very next video that I create, I go and make the exact same mistake.
Right.
And as I'm saying it, like as I'm talking, I'm like, okay, I know so-and-so just commented and they told me the mistake that I made in the last video, and I can't remember what they said, and so I'm making it now. But they're always very positive, and they leave me little smiley faces, and they say, "Keep going, you're doing great." Bonege,
Right. Yeah. And that's like, I mean, realistically, like even with those mistakes, like for example, if I said, also by the way, for people who don't speak Esperanto, finfine mi edzina komencijus lerni Esperanto, and I should have said would mean that my wife, basically, finally, my wife started to learn Esperanto because she started doing the Duolingo tree with me. But if I said that, even if I said komencijus instead of komensas, which I should have said, it's still an understandable sentence. Like,
Sure, yeah.
Like it's not like putting. I mean, obviously, you're gonna have kind of these elite people who are like, I don't understand that. That's not the correct. But like any normal human being is gonna be like, all right, hey, it's actually komensas right there. It's not komencijus. But yeah, okay, cool, great deal.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, and the mistakes are so important, dude. I hate how they're looked down on, really, because I mean, it is part of learning. But now, do you do a because I know that this is like a big thing and multiple people methods. You've got the Benny Lewis method, and then you've got like the Steve Kaufman method. Like, do you do the speak from day one, or do you try to have a decent amount of time with the language under your belt before trying to speak?
Yeah, it's funny. I just talked to Steve about this last week, but I have a lot of experience and appreciation of the Benny Lewis method. Start speaking as quickly as possible. I do like to do that. What I've realized along the years is that it's hard to do.
Yeah.
It was easy for me in El Salvador because I was living. You just have to throw yourself into situations every day.
Right.
There's not really a whole lot of choice.
Right.
When it came to learning French, I wanted to do the same thing, but I was living in Wisconsin. So it's like I would go on Hello Talk or Reddit and like find people that wanted to be language partners. And then, I'd say, all right, let's do half an hour in French and half an hour in English. And then it would come to the half an hour of French and it'd be like, bonjour, comment ça va?
Right.
And then they would say something in French, and it's like, all right, I'm just wasting their time if I'm trying to speak from day one. Now, of course, there's some things you can say in French from day one. Like, sure, practice whatever you're learning that day or whatever you've been practicing recently.
Yeah.
You want to get lots of repetitions and exposure, but it's not as easy as just jump into conversations right away.
Yeah.
And so I do understand Steve's point of view from, I want to be able to say something before I get into the conversation.
Yeah. I've always, I think that I've changed a lot over the course of years. For the past couple of years, I've been big on, I I used to try to start speaking early. As a matter of fact, even a series as early as last year. But I really think that having a higher comprehension is more important than how much you can say, because you can get your point across. But if your main goal is to try to study enough to be able to say everything you want to say exactly, you're going to miss so much in comprehension. If you can understand what they're saying, you can get your point across with the small amount of words. So it might not be as vividly detailed as you want, but you can get your point across.
Or just get it by with hand motions.
Yeah.
You know, you can find a way to communicate what you want to say. You might, but then they're going to rattle off something that you didn't understand, and then you're just stuck.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Peggy Trotman says, how'd you go about learning Spanish verb tenses, and should I start learning Portuguese along with my Spanish? I want to learn Portuguese, but I don't know if I should wait until I'm highly advanced in Spanish first or not.
Yeah, my advice is to wait until you're at a high level of Spanish before you start learning Portuguese, because those languages are way too similar.
Yeah.
You're gonna start mixing them up in your head. How did I learn verb case tenses? Well, I learned them in school, middle school and high school. But man, Spanish verbs are insane. Yeah. Like, they are verifiably...
It's the worst.
Yeah, Spanish verbs are terrible. And so after studying all my verb trees and diligently doing my homework and reading my textbooks for years, I got to El Salvador, and I could not remember how to conjugate the verb decir in the past tense. Right? Is it yo deci, yo diso, yo dize, yo di what? Yeah. You know? Yo de sigo, yo de something. I don't remember. There's like stem changers, and then the O turns into a UE, and then like in the present tense it's O, but in the past tense it's E, except for the third person, and it's just like all these rules. You can't remember all those rules. You just have to use them. Yeah,
it's one thing that I do, and I talk about this all the time. This is probably, maybe the 10th podcast in a row I've mentioned this. But Benny Lewis, his idea on Spanish is learn the infinitive, right? And then use that. So if you don't know how to conjugate it, you can simply say pasado, past, comer, I ate. So like,
and then ayer, yesterday, or en la mañana, this morning.
Yeah. So like, there's ways to get around that, and then the way that you can pick up the verbs are by listening, because there's some verb tenses that you're not going to use. I talked when I was talking to Kyle about this, and I said, for example, why would I spend, because decir is an irregular verb. Why would I spend so much time running through a conjugation table and learning we talked? Like, why would I spend so much time learning that? If it comes up in this conversation, I could be like, whoa, what the crap is that? Yeah. I can probably count, I think I even told him, that like, probably in my lifetime, even with a 3.5-year-old, have I ever said, like, because, a lot of times they're like, we said, like, as parents, but like, I've probably used that 10 times in my life ever. We said, we say. It's like, why?
Yeah. What I did a lot when I was learning Spanish is, rather than memorize the whole chart before the conversation, wait till you're in the conversation and then try the best you can. You're gonna fail, but after the conversation is over, look up exactly what you should have said. Yeah. And then you don't have to memorize a whole verb chart. You just have to remember, okay, I'm gonna see the first person singular of the preterito, it's dije. Yeah. Right? And then I don't have to remember dije, dijo, decimos, and dicieron. Yep. Right? It's just one thing that you look up, and it's not a strain to remember one word, but also it has a context connected to it, because you're going to remember that conversation that you were in. Yep. And the other thing is just to get exposed to the language a lot. Yeah. Read a lot, listen a lot, Um, do it for fun. Listen to music.
Yeah.
That's why I memorize song lyrics so much.
Yeah.
Because I can do it for fun in my free time while I'm driving, while I'm cooking, while I'm doing whatever. And the words are catchy. They get stuck in your head. You remember the lines because they rhyme. And
Yeah.
and it's just exposure to words in the language and how sentences are formed.
Yeah. Well, and that's you know, and the exposure is so huge, man. I'm gonna give people example, and I know that. I mean, I'm doing the whole like mass immersion thing right now, and I'm 23 days in, like where I'm watching. I'm close to 35 hours of just pure immersion, right? And I don't understand.
What
Almost
language are you working on right now?
This is kind of like my last chance with Japanese. Like I'm trying. I finally have changed like my study methods. Like I got rid of all my applications, and I'm doing just immersion and like. And like the thing is like, and I know that you had talked about comprehensible input earlier, but there is something to be said for immersion even when you don't understand. And it happened today for me, as a matter of fact, and it's happened multiple times, but just it happened today. So I can give you an example. I was watching Death Note in Japanese. I don't have subtitles on or anything, right? I'm just basically trying to let my brain unlock what's happening, and so. And now you would think, well, this isn't necessarily that it jumped out at you because this is going to be obvious. But basically, a girl came into this guy's room and he pulled up his chair and he said, "Suate," right? Suate. Which I've look. My goal right now is not output. My goal is to understand what is being said. But like, so I'm sure the pronunciation and stuff. But like, he said "suate," and I was like, okay. Like, I paused the video and I was like. Do I even need to look that up to verify? Because clearly, if he's rolling a chair to her, suate is, and ate probably in this sense is like, I don't know much about verb conjugation. I mean, I do know some, like I know like how to say like I want and stuff like that, like, because it's not actually, it's the way you change the verb. But like, okay, so common sense is telling me this is like a command. I don't know if it's a polite or impolite command or whatever, but suate rolling a chair to her, it's pretty obvious he's telling her to sit, and then she sits down. So, like, you absolutely, like, and that's how you pick it up. So I'm not going to have to look, and the verb is suaru. I do know a lot of Japanese verbs, like, in their infinitive or dictionary form, but, like, I'm not going to have to look that up, and if I want to tell somebody to sit ever in Japanese, I know it. Like, it's plain as day.
Yeah. Some languages you'll need to be a little bit careful with that as far as, like, what register is he using? Is that the polite way to say it?
Oh,
is
yeah.
he jerk when he says it? You know,
Yeah.
I don't know enough about Japanese to know if that's something you need to worry about. But
for sure. Well, that's and the big struggle with that is like, which I don't watch a lot of anime. I tend to try to watch a lot of like dramas and stuff, or I say dramas, live action stuff, because a lot of people I've heard throughout so many people that just they speak differently in anime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't
the
know.
nice thing about that, though, that what you were mentioning with the chair thing in the anime is that's giving you more context rather than just the language itself. That makes the language comprehensible. So that is comprehensible input. You see the chair, you see him giving him the chair, and you understand what's going on.
Right.
As opposed to if you just opened up a book in Japanese, you speak like. If you open Crime and Punishment in Russian and you don't know any Russian, you don't know any of these strange backwards P's and stuff are, all these new letters, you're not going to learn anything.
Right.
You can look at that book all day long and you're not going to learn a dang thing.
Yeah.
Your eyes are going to bleed and you're still going to know no Russian.
Yeah.
But movies, animes, books, like I have somewhere over here I have a graphic novel that I was reading in French a few years ago. I must have rearranged my bookshelf. Oh, here it is. Like, graphic novels, they have pictures that go along with the word. That gives you context. That makes the language comprehensible because you have clues about what's going on.
Yep.
But it has to be comprehensible in some way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, having that context helps tremendously because I've learned, and I know that this doesn't sound like a lot, but you also have to understand, like, I've not started adding vocabulary to my study yet because I'm getting through like my kanji stuff first, But I mean, I've learned probably 10 plus vocab. I know, again, that doesn't sound like a lot because I've been doing it for 23 days. But like, in terms of not having to study words but picking them up through context is pretty crazy. And now when I hear those words, I know them, so that sentence gets a little bit easier the next time they say something.
Sure.
So yeah, it's a pretty cool idea. Rasmus says, if you want insane verb conjugation, try Hungarian. Well, yeah. Yeah. Peggy Troutman says, I'm getting a one-on-one tutor in 8 days or so. It will be once a week lesson. How would you use an online tutor most effectively? My most effective method for learning with a tutor is I stopped. I just didn't get anything. I got a little bit out of it, but I think the problem is, and this is coming first and foremost, I probably wouldn't take any advice from me, right? I don't really speak a lot of anything, so this is all just, whatever. But I find that I would jump into having a tutor way too early. And it's kind of like what Aaron was talking about earlier with language exchange. I would be like, oh yeah, oh crap, I literally started this language today. What am I talking about? I don't like, if you're talking about, because I know that you had asked earlier about Spanish and that if you've progressed in Spanish, even if you're not at an intermediate, but you've been studying it for a little while, that's fine. That should be perfectly fine. Just make sure that they know, like they have like some sort of plan or something. Because the problem is you can tell if a tutor is good or not by when the conversation dries up, if they can continue on to get you to kind of like say stuff. Like if they can continue keeping that conversation going for you, that's...
Your tutor should be a conversation partner.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need someone to read a textbook to you. You can read the textbook yourself.
Yeah.
Tutor isn't someone that explains the grammar rules to you. The tutor is someone that you practice speaking with.
Yeah.
Right? And someone that's willing to take the time. Because if you're in a Spanish-speaking country and you're buying something at a restaurant or at the grocery store, those employees don't want to waste their time having a conversation in Spanish with you.
Yeah.
Especially if you're at a very low level. But your tutor is willing to stop and like meet you at your level, speak slowly, repeat themselves, listen to what you're saying, try to understand all your errors, and repeat certain words that they know you need repeated.
Yeah.
Right. That's what a tutor is for. It's not to teach you how to conjugate verbs in the past tense subjunctive.
Yeah, definitely use them as a conversation part. Honestly, even if they're just speaking to you, like, I mean, just having, the context and the content just is super important.
Yeah.
Rasmus says, talking of immersion, I wonder how quickly did Aaron start to immerse with native content? And then he says, I can't stay focused when I can't understand much of what is being said. I can touch on that, but I can... how long does it take you before you start immersing in native content?
Native content takes me quite a while, quite a few months. I can say... Actually, that's not entirely true for Spanish. True story, I was 14 years old studying Spanish. I went through a year of studying Spanish, my whole 8th grade year. And by the end of the year, I thought, hey, I should be able to turn on the Spanish channel and understand something, right?
Right.
Turn on the Spanish channel, and they're all going, and I understood nothing, right? You're not going to be able to understand native level content right away.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of content that is entirely in Spanish that's designed for people that are learning. Like my book, for example.
Yep.
Right? It's not in English. It's not teaching you rules or grammar. It's in Spanish, but you just read through the Spanish, but it's easy Spanish.
Yeah.
Right? You can listen to a YouTube channel, I think it's called The News in Slow Spanish. And every week they update you about what's going on in the world. Presumably these last few weeks, everything has been just about the coronavirus.
Right.
But they're going to do a lot of talking about that. And they speak slowly and clearly for people that don't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things you want to find. My favorite thing to recommend is if you're learning French, Spanish, German, or English, is Extra. It's like a sitcom. It's basically like Friends, except way low budget, way more low budget, way lower budget. But it's entertaining, it's fun, and it's designed for people who don't speak the language very well. But it's sitcom. It's fun to watch.
Right.
Even and you can understand a lot of what's going on, even if you don't speak the language.
Right. Yeah, it's well, my thing. So my thing with immersion, and he says I can't stay focused when I can't understand much of what is being said. So first and foremost, my goal with immersion, obviously, ultimately, is to eventually understand anything. My goal right now with immersion isn't the idea of things. So like these vocabulary words I've picked up by immersion that's just kind of like a byproduct and like almost like a bonus, right? My goal right now is exactly what Aaron was talking about, how after you study these languages for so long and then you hear native content and you're like, what is happening? What I'm doing right now is training my ears to hear the language. I mentioned it in a podcast yesterday, and again, I'm not a great example because I have studied Japanese off and on for 11 years now, but when I hear Japanese people speak in these shows I'm watching, I can understand, and I don't mean that I can comprehend what they're saying. I mean that I can pick the word where it starts and stop probably 40 to 50% of what I'm watching now.
Yeah.
And now that I've been doing it 2 to 3 hours a day, it's just getting better and better. Like every day I'm noticing that like that sentence sounds a little bit slower now to me. And it's not that it's slower, but I can say, oh, okay, they clearly said whatever. Like for example, where is the bathroom, which would be like tore wa doko desu ka? Like originally to me that would just sound like that was one word, but now I can hear toire wa doko desu ka. Like it's all separate to me. And not always, but that's like 50% of the time now. In terms of staying focused, that's just a battle. I don't know, man. That's why I've failed at the whole mass immersion 3 times, or this is my 3rd time, is because I had a hard time with it until finally I just kind of sucked it up and I said, I have to do this. Like this is like what, imagine if you had a kid or if you have any relatives that are young, right? These a 1 or 2 year old kid and they're watching TV. They don't understand what the heck's going on. Like they can understand by pictures, but they don't understand what is being said. And so I finally just sat there and I did look for content that I enjoyed, right? I love Death Note, and so I was like, cool, even if I don't really know what's happening, I do like the idea of Death Note. I watched Erased because I've watched it in English before, so I knew what was going on, and it's one of my favorite shows ever, so I was like, I'm going to watch this because it's originally Japanese, so I can watch that. I can watch Battle Royale, which is one of my favorite movies ever. It's a Japanese movie. I know exactly what's happening, so I'm still watching it, and even though I don't understand it, I'm still getting enjoyment out of it. I mention this all the time, I am a die-hard. I will fight someone to the death about some pro wrestling. And Japan has one of the best wrestling scenes in the world. So I watch Japanese wrestling, which I've had to step back because I did notice that I started kind of lulling on the audio and just paying attention to what was happening wrestling-wise.
Yeah.
But you just have to make sure it's stuff that you like. That way, even if you're not understanding what's happening, you can kind of stick with it.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Aaron, I know that do you need to go? I know that you said that you needed to do some stuff later on.
I have to get going here.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna give just one last second for anybody if they have any questions. Let me know. We'll answer them real quick. Let's see, anything else? I'm at a lower intermediate level now, so I think having a tutor is the best thing I could do to reach fluency. Yeah, sure. I mean, try it out. There's nothing wrong with trying, for sure. And if you're at a lower intermediate level, I mean, you should be able to get something out of it.
I don't think a tutor is the best thing you can do to reach fluency, but it'll help if you're speaking the language with them. Yeah, if it's someone who you're practicing language with, then
yeah, you'll be good. Well, Aaron, I appreciate you coming on. Maybe down the road again, maybe I can have you on again. Because even after this quarantine stops, I don't plan on stopping these interviews. I really enjoy it, man. I've got to talked to people that I've known, and then I've got to talk to people that that I've never talked to before. And languages can bring everybody together.
Yeah, anytime, man.
So I will. I have Aaron's channel down below. You can click the link there, or you can just search for Fingtam language. I would probably put Fingtam Languages because you might find some pretty crazy videos on YouTube if you just type Fingtam. So,
no, I've weeded out all of the actual Hungarian videos. I know, yeah. I'll be the top search result for that.
Yeah. Well, I did find it fun. I posted this on Twitter. I'll wrap up with this, but when you search for link, which and Aaron was seeing, that's the thing. If you, I'll have you on again because I can talk about link and stuff too.
Sure.
But you're the first search result when you search not Link, not Steve Kaufman. Your video is the first video that pops up.
I have no idea how that happens. I'm also the first search result for Linguistics, I believe, which is insane.
That is crazy.
The second search result is Steven Pinker, and I'm like, I beat Steven Pinker. I don't know how that happened.
Dude, it's crazy, man. It's super, super wild.
Yeah.
Let's see. Are you gonna give shadowing a shot, Jonathan? Okay. All right. Do you want to close on shadowing real quick? Just like a 2-minute little thing. Do you do any shadowing or anything?
No. The name of the guy someone recommended try shadowing after being able to hear for one where it starts and ends. No. Never tried it. So I don't have a whole lot of input.
Yeah, I did shadowing briefly for Greek when I studied Greek a little bit, and that really helped me kind of. It helped things stick in my brain a little bit more because I was using Link for Greek, and of course the script is there, and then I would hear it and I would just try to. Honestly, I turned Link into Pimsleur. You know what I mean? Like I saw the sentence and I was like, sentence, me repeat it. Sentence, me repeat it. So.
Well, I guess now that you mention it, I guess I have done that like in Pimsleur, and I do enjoy Pimsleur. So.
Yeah. Oh, actually, Caleb Clardy said one thing about Esperanto. What are y'all's thoughts on Mosaico Esperanto app that has various interviews and music, etc.? But I just listened to the interview. I haven't even heard of that app. I'll have to check that app out, and I'll try to check it out before I stream again. And you can ask me in that stream because I had no idea. Have you ever heard of that app, Mosaico? Yeah, I haven't either. I'm pretty out of touch with the Esperanto stuff. I'll check that out. So, all right, cool. Well, thank you all for watching. Go check out Aaron for sure. And actually, for the first time, don't have any interviews scheduled for the foreseeable future, but I'm going to get on the old Twitter machine there and make something happen in the next couple days. So thank you all for watching.
Like I said, I'm going to be in quarantine too, so anytime you need another interview, just let me know.
Yeah, man. Just get on and shoot the old breeze. So... Cool. Well, I appreciate you joining, and thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.